I should start. So, first of all, I think I'll tell you an analogy, especially for people for whom data migration is Greek and Latin. Okay, in layman terms, yes, it's a migration of data from one system to another. Okay, very simple definition. But if I use an analogy, for example, if you are shifting your home, you have a home in Mumbai, a flat in a housing society, and then you're moving to Goa in a seaside Bangalore. Okay, so you need to move your household goods from Mumbai to Goa. Fine. Um, when you have a flat in Mumbai, you know how expensive Mumbai is. So a small flat um, um, where number of rooms are there, different almiras in each room are there, and you accumulated or used any household uh, movers company to pack those bags and then move to Goa in your Bangalore. Okay, so you can imagine uh, you took out everything from there in your flat. You pack them in bags, use a truck, and then bring that to Goa, you in your Bangalore, and then you start unpacking. Um, you have 5 6 rooms now. Size of the rooms are amazing. Uh, so I think you are able to visualize what I'm saying. Uh, See, the old home, which is a legacy technology or legacy application, maybe small, may not be scalable, may not be beautiful. Then you decided that you don't want to live your whole life there. Similarly, a company or client doesn't want to continue with that legacy application. They want to move everything from that legacy application to a new product, which is in this case a Bangalore in Goa. So, what there will be multiple challenges. Sometimes certain things may be straightforward. Okay, for example, dining table. Picking up the dining table from uh, one flat to another flat is not a challenge. Yeah, there is a dining hall. You just need to move, bring it here. Simple, straightforward movement. But challenge comes when you need to open your bed box. There are small multiple things which you need to arrange. Yeah, so challenge comes there. Simple a movement is quite easy. Yeah, so I hope you are able to visualize what I'm trying to say here. Data migration works in the similar manner. Instead of a household package movers and movers company, technology comes in picture. Instead of a flat in Mumbai, there is a legacy application. New age product or a technology is your Bangalore in Goa. Fine. So I just changed the points here, and you could get that migration comes in picture now. Okay. So what happens? Like in any household goods movement, there are pre-movement or pre-migration activities which we need to do. Fine. So all activities are to be done, and I'll brief you in between, but where BA comes in picture. Fine. So one of the key activities analyzing or assessing the data which is there in the old application, understanding the application itself. It's always good. I would recommend whenever you are involved in a data migration project, always try to get access of source application or source uh, front end. Fine. Usually, in my experience, it's not easy to get front end access of source application. Okay, so for BAs, especially functional BAs, it becomes quite easy to visualize data if you have front end access. Because if you review backend data, you analyze it, you understand the quantum complexity, of tables. Simultaneously, you are able to visualize the front-end application. You see how the data is flowing when you are taking different steps in the front-end application. Fine. So it gives you more clarity, more empowerment. It becomes easy for you to take next steps in migrating the data to target application. Fine. Second thing is, in legacy application, you may find huge uh, data quality issues. Okay, and if you bring the same ambiguous data to source, from source to target application, and then target application may go haywire, may not work in the proper manner. So front end works beautifully there also, analyzing front end and back end. So one activity which comes in picture is data cleansing. Data cleansing ideally is to be done in source application before we actually move the data to a target application. Fine. So cleansing comes in picture. Cleansing, functional interpretation becomes quite important, because techies cannot cleanse just like that. Someone from functional team or business analyst needs to tell them that what all quality issues are there. So business analyst needs to understand the data, highlight quality issues, missing elements, and then those missing elements are corrected or improved by support of techies. Fine. And then once you have cleansed it, then extract, transformation, and load happens. That is a purely technical job. BAs do not get involved there. Okay. So in such cases, when pre-migration process is happening, there are some output documents which are to be generated in a project or released in a project. Usually such documents are scope and strategy documents. So for example, when you assessed the data, when you analyze the data, you understood that there are hundreds of thousands of, for example, insurance policies are to be migrated. So you know the volume, you have a bucket of complexity. For example, out of 100,000 insurance policies, 50,000 policies are simple in nature, straightforward data. uh, uh, Remaining policies are complex in nature. For example, if you know about insurance companies, I'm giving an example of insurance because I have worked in insurance domain so far. So the policies may be very complex in nature. So obviously, when policies are in complex nature, then data also becomes complex. Multiple tables are there, multiple joins are there. Fine. So the scope will define, uh, strategy will define how you will manage simple migration and how you will manage complex migration. Does it make sense? Please stop me if you have any question in between, and I would be happy to address before I move to my next topic. Okay, another thing which is also technical in nature, BAs scope and strategy document. BAs may get involved in creation of that. It's a joint document created by techies, business analysts. Testers may also get involved, but as a reviewer or people who need to understand that, and then ultimately it is um, owned by data migration project manager. Fine. But equal contribution by techies as well as business analysts. Fine. Then one another output in pre-migration is the cleaned source data. So obviously after cleansing, we have a source data ready of a particular cutoff date. Yeah. Most important thing is a cutoff date, that up to which date from a legacy application data is to be moved to the target application. Sorry. Okay. Dates become quite important, especially when I'll talk to you about reconciliation in later stages. These dates become quite important because if you do not compare apple to apple, then reconciliation issues come, and then you face challenge in reconciling data and getting sign off from customers. Okay. Then scripts, the techies, solution architects needs to prepare ETL jobs, data migration scripts, and all those things. Fine. So it's a pre-migration process. And now as part of pre-migration, how migration scripts can be created by techies. Because migration scripts can only be created when you have understood the mapping between source field and target field. Okay. So source field is, for example, a reference number in a legacy application, and in a new application it is policy reference. So the same fields which we need to move from one place to another, same data, then it's straightforward. But as per the analogy example which I gave to you, when you have a small room in Mumbai flat with a small almirah, um, and certain things which are stored by you in Mumbai flat, there's no space in or there's no proper place to keep them in Goa, Bangalore. How you will shift that? Fine. How you'll move that? So uh, it's not just a straightforward mapping we need to do. We need to do some transformations also as part of the mapping from one source to target. Fine. So the data mapping sheet which a BA needs to prepare, certain elements will be quite straightforward there, but certain elements will consist of some transformation. For example, if data is A in source application, make it B in target application because of any valid business reason. So that kind of transformation also happen. Sometimes in source application, certain things are not captured, but in target application they are mandatory to be captured. Fine. For example, a value which a client would like to capture in the target application, and as part of the configuration they made it mandatory, but source application was not storing that. It was not a mandatory or even a value or field in the source application. So how such kind of mandatory fields are to be handled in the target application when migration has got completed? So there are various ways. One way is to default it. That means that a currency, for example, a currency has become mandatory in the target application. Then insurer says if they are UK based, they'll say that defaulted to GBP pound. Okay, Great Britain pound, defaulted, sorted. It is mandatory and it has been defaulted in target application. So user, whenever they open that insurance policy or transaction, there will not be any issue because a mandatory field has got defaulted. Another approach is when volume is not high, then the client may decide to manually update them in the UI. So there can be different approaches which can be adopted at the time of mapping exercise. And this is the most critical exercise which a BA needs to perform. They need to understand business, for example, domain. If they understand the domain, they'll be able to, for example, they know that reference in the legacy application is policy reference in target application. So they'll be able to understand what is what as part of that mapping, and their business knowledge supports them there. And one of the precondition to do that job well is having front-end access of both source and target application. If you have front-end access, you are able to visualize it well, and then you are able to map it very well. Make sense? So any questions so far? Anything you'd like to ask?
Yes, Amit, let's take a break here. So Amit has highlighted a couple of key points, right? So data migration is basically an ETL. E stands for extract, T is transform, and L is load, right? So the first point he mentioned is extracting, right? So when you are extracting the data, when you are picking up the data that you need to move over, you should have a clear-cut understanding of what your scope is. Data migration projects are very so they can easily have a scope creep, right? So you might end up having numerous issues or numerous points in the data when you are starting with the mapping exercise. So it is very important for you to understand and confirm on the scope of the exercise that you are going to do, because otherwise your project might never get over, because there's so much unforeseen things are coming into picture. Second part is transform, where in transforming is how you are moving the data over. If there are any mandatory fields, how will you treat them, and other things that Amit has already covered, right? And last part is load. And if you have a clear cut idea of what you have extracted and how that needs transformation, loading is just loading into the system via script or any other procedures that the technical team employs. Yeah. So do pitch in, do ask any questions if Amit has taken, because Amit has taken couple of terms like ETL or reconciliation, so they might be new to you. Cut off, yeah. So feel free to raise a point and say that I want to understand what does that this term means. Otherwise, also if you have any experiences, feel free to share with us. Yeah, Kirti.
Yeah, hi, Shipra. Could you please elaborate more on scoping on the data migration work, Shipra? I mean, I was of the opinion that when we move data from one application to the other, we'll have to end up migrating everything, isn't it, Shipra?
Yes. So let's say you have 1,000 records that you need to transform over, right? Transfer over. But when you will start the mapping, you might end up having 1,000 more new rules to be added in. So if we are saying that the new system is having some field as mandatory, and we need to default the values, right? So when you are estimating the work, have you included your business rules in? Have you included what values to be defaulted? So let's say you are looking at 1,000 records, then do put in some assumptions next to it, saying that I am assuming out of these 1,000 records, 100 records may need a mechanism to cleanse it out. Out of these 1,000 records, I am assuming that roughly 200 fields will need a defaulting script. Out of this 1,000 records, I'm assuming that roughly 300 of these fields may need a data script, right? So usually what happens is, when we come across data migration projects, we focus only on, okay, there are 1,000 records, I need to transform over, and that's it, right? It's not a big deal. I have just let's say 500 fields, I'll just map them over, and that's it, right? But when you start mapping, that time you need to figure out, okay, there are data mismatches, how will I handle it? There are master data value mismatches, how will I handle it? So master data value mappings will come into picture, which you may have to map. Have you taken those things into scope? That's the key, right? Because otherwise what you'll say is, 1,000 records I need to transform over, and that may I'll take 10 days for analysis, and I'll take 5 days for deployment, and maybe 5 days for testing. Yeah, that's it. But when you'll start doing the mapping exercise, then you realize, okay, I have these 50 fields which have master data values in it. I need to map them to the new fields, right? So have you taken those development efforts into account? Have you taken those testing efforts into account? So that's the point we are driving, right?
Yeah,
That's,
makes sense.
Yeah,
Thanks,
may I,
Shipra.
Shipra, may
yeah,
I begin here?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, so to your question, that everything from source application is to be migrated to target application. It is not always so. Uh, Usually, when this migration exercise starts, uh, data is assessed in the legacy or source application, and then a conscious call is taken that whether everything has to be migrated or certain things which are not relevant for the client now are to be migrated. Because what happens, I go back to the same analogy. When you have a home in Mumbai, uh, uh, there may be a lot of clutter in your store in Mumbai home, isn't it? You don't want to carry everything to your Mumbai, Bangalore to because you feel that you may want to buy certain new things in Mumbai, Bangalore. So certain things are to be disposed. Sorry, in Goa, Bangalore. So certain things are to be disposed in Mumbai itself. कबाड़ वाले को बेच देना, garbage, um, you can send it to garbage people. So so you may consciously decide what all actually you need to move as client. So that becomes a scope. So finally, what has been packed in the boxes of Packers and Movers company becomes a scope of movement.
Got it, Amit. Yeah, thank you.
Simple, yeah. So historical data, for example, data is of 20 years or 25 years. Client says that I don't want to move everything. Everything has been archived. I need only 2 years data. So a particular cutoff dates are agreed, and then only those things are packed and moved to the target application. So that becomes part of scope and strategy document. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Thank you, Amit.
Okay. So if there are any more questions, I can go to the next stage of my conversation.